and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be breaking down and reacting to Shadow of the Vampire from 2000. This is a subscriber request. It features John Malkovich, who plays Frederick. I'm going to butcher the names, okay? They're German. Frederick Willem Murnau. I did do the Google pronounce thingy. I can't. We're going to call him Frederick, okay? And it has our Lord and Savior, Willem Dafoe, as Max Schreck, I believe is how it's pronounced. And he is our vampire of the movie. This movie is extremely interesting in the sense that it is a movie about a vampire who's hired to play the role of a vampire. Okay? It's Frederick's, it's the making of Nosferatu from the point of view of Frederick, I guess, in a fictionized kind of way. It's a bit of a fever dream, really. It's fascinating, the point of view in which they're shooting this film. So, also, I have to say, listen, I enjoyed this movie, and I vaguely recall when it came out, which I didn't remember when I saw the title. It wasn't until I started watching the movie I was like, ah, yes, I remember. Because the premise was very interesting to me, even back then. And I knew nothing about Nosferatu back then. But I will say the pacing of this movie was really slow. However, jumping right in, breakdown first, everything else later. So, this movie, like I said, is very different. It is a movie about making a movie about a vampire with the lead role being portrayed by a vampire. That's me trying to make it sound easier. It didn't work. It's a fever dream about the making of Nosferatu. So, we begin by learning that Bram Stoker's widow refuses to sell Frederick the rights to Dracula. So naturally, he decides to film it regardless, changing the title, character names, and locations. So Dracula becomes Nosferatu. Transylvania and England become Germany. Count Dracula becomes Count Olaf. And Mina becomes Ellen. So, after filming the first opening scenes of the movie in Berlin on a soundstage, Frederick is becoming more and more anxious to get the crew to Czechoslovakia, as they will be meeting with Max Schreck, the vampire he has hired to act as the vampire. Frederick introduces Schreck as a character actor from the Reinhold Company, explaining that Schreck will be in character at all times. Though absolutely no one in the crew knows anything about him, Schreck is not vampire material, like as we know him. We know Dracula as being like, seductive and handsome, and the eyes, and the stare, and the all that, right? This is this is not Shrek. This is not what he is. He is old and bald. He can't remember his own humanity. All he knows is that his turning had to do with a woman whose face he has long forgotten. Through the course of the movie, we find out that Shrek has lost most of his powers. He hasn't seen sunlight in centuries. He lives in a filthy, rundown abbey, surviving off the blood of the occasional rat. Interestingly, he had read the book of Dracula and felt the saddest thing for Dracula was that he was forced to cook for Hawker because he had no servants. Shrek has agreed to make this film only because Frederick had promised to provide him with blood during the filming. And at the end of the movie, Frederick had promised that Shrek can feed on Greta. Now, Greta is the actress playing Ellen, who is Mina in the book. And she is insufferable. Oh my God, this actress is just... the actress who is playing Ellen Hawker. As filming goes on, Shrek's performance is both haunting and inspiring to the crew. Adding to the creepiness, the local villagers are very anxious about the Nosferatu, especially after the photographer Wolfgang is found weak and dizzy. So what happened there was when they did their first shot scene with Shrek, the photographer, for whatever reason, followed Shrek off screen, and he ends up getting drained a little bit. There was a little action going on there. As the crew is filming the scene where Jonathan Hawker cuts his finger with a bread knife, Shrek loses control and takes more blood from Wolfgang, forcing Frederick to threaten Shrek, saying that he can't harm his people or he can't have Greta. Shrek agrees to control himself, feeding on ferrets, rats, bats, and the occasional bottle of blood that Frederick supplies him with. However, one thing Shrek refuses to do is film at sea. This results in Frederick being forced to build a replica of the ship on land. Moreover, the final scene where Orlok feeds from Ellen and is killed in the morning light must be shot on an island. So Frederick agrees to fly Orlok there. Unfortunately, Wolfgang is too far gone and must be replaced by another photographer, Fritz Wagner, who is, oh my God, I'm so bad with names. The guy from The Princess Bride. Him. As You Wish. Him. This is how I was able to keep paying attention in the movie, because although it's a good movie, the pacing is very slow. So the way I kept my attention on it was trying to find actors that I knew. At this point, the film crew are starting to suspect that Shrek is a real vampire. All the crew lock their bedroom doors at night. Alvin, who is the producer, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, and Fritz go to search for his coffin but find nothing. Their suspicions are confirmed, however, when one night they come upon Frederick, who is intoxicated with laudanum. Let me tell you how much fun it is to write the word laudanum. It's one of those words when you write cursive that it's just a joy to write, okay? I'm just saying. Laudanum. While under the influence, he blurts out that there is no Max Schreck. He found the name in a book, and while Frederick was looking for locations in Czechoslovakia, he found him living in the run-down monastery. When Fritz asks him what he promised Schreck in return for acting in his movie, Frederick tells him the truth. Greta. Albin and Fritz are appalled but agree to filming the final scenes that night. Frederick has set up the final bedroom scene in an old warehouse that is locked tight to keep the sunlight out. But precautions are taken. A door to allow daylight in at the flick of a switch if things should go sideways. Greta, in her nightgown, is put in position on the bed. Orlok is on set, following her every move. It's creepy. Willem Dafoe does such a good job as Orlok. I'm telling you, he is just creepy as fuck. You see a bit of the Green Goblin in this too. Like, it's just fantastic. Fritz is behind the camera. Albin is standing by, and Frederick begins giving directions. As the camera is about to roll, Greta notices that Schreck doesn't have a reflection in the mirror next to the bed. She begins to scream. She flips the fuck out is what she does. Okay, she flips the fuck out. So Frederick pumps her full of laudanum. Naturally. I mean, he just gets her stoned off her nut. It's crazy. It's crazy. Which makes her more compliant. Yeah. Schreck is almost out of control, saying, "I want her now," but is refused until after he has shot the death scene. Once the shots are done, Schreck can't help himself and latches onto Greta's neck. And I must add to that also, as he's like completely just latched right onto her neck, he is also holding a titty. Okay. Listen, I know they're acting and it's all professional and stuff, but I mean, to be that actress, to have somebody just kind of holding your titty for, I think the entire scene is maybe 5 minutes, but I mean, like, come on. I found it funny. Latches onto Greta's neck. To our disbelief, Frederick keeps filming, and after he drinks his fill, Schreck falls asleep. Listen, this director, the way that they portray him is absolutely mental. When he directs, I mean, the term director, that's literally what he's doing, right? He's like, it's a silent film, so on film we don't hear anything, but as we're watching him direct or film, right? I mean, he's literally telling these people, giving them, you know, this is the situation, and this is how you're feeling, and this is what you're looking at, and blah 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 blah. It's a very interesting way of doing the job, I think. Frederick, Albin, and Fritz wait. So now that the vampire has passed out, the three men are just chilling, right? Now it's daybreak. In hopes of capturing a more realistic death scene, because he wasn't happy with the one that was originally done, Frederick orders the door to be opened to flood the room with sunlight. Unbeknownst, however, Shrek had found and dismantled the trap. While trying to spring the trap, the noise awakens Shrek, who is angry at being tricked. Fritz tries shooting him, but bullets do nothing, and he breaks Fritz's neck. And then he chokes Albin. While this is going on, Frederick has taken over the camera, and he's recording all of this. He tells Shrek this ending is unmarkable and requests that he return to his original mark. To our astonishment, he complies, and he returns to Greta's neck and grabs her titty. And drinks more blood. Suddenly, the crew outside, because it was just the 3 men and the 2 actors, right, the vampire and Greta in the room, the rest of the crew were all outside. The crew break down the door, letting sunlight into the chamber, and Shrek dies, this time for real. After ending the shot, Frederick looks up from his camera and says, "I think we have it." And listen, the way that Malkovich delivers that last line is actually creepier than anything that Orlok or Shrek or whatever you want to call him has said or done, really. Now, I said the movie was slow, and it was. Pacing was a huge issue for me. I found myself having to get up and walk around. I found myself, going for a drive. I think I vlogged. I went to the store. I went and got a coffee. I ended up folding laundry while I was watching the movie. And then, like I said, looking for actors that I recognize. Like, the producer is the head vampire in Blade. Yeah. Then we have Princess Bride guy. Of course, Willem Dafoe. And John Malkovich. John Malkovich is an amazing actor. I do very much enjoy his work. But the pacing was, it was so slow. It was good. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed this movie. The aesthetic in it, the atmosphere, the acting, the concept of the movie was fantastic. I mean, come on. I did find it kind of hard to follow at times. But that's just me. My brain gets going and I have a hard time concentrating and focusing on things, but it was a very enjoyable movie. I really, really liked it. Some notable things that I noticed, watching one of my favorite scenes, I think it's Fritz and the Blade guy, Albin, and Shrek are all sitting, the 3 of them, side by side after a night shoot. And they're talking and whatever, and drinking, right? So Albin and Fritz are blitzed, right? They're absolutely bombed. And they're talking about one thing or another, and Shrek comes and sits down with them. And they're talking about things and whatever, and I guess getting a little deep and philosophical and whatever, And I can't remember the context of the situation, but they're talking, and then all of a sudden you hear like a squeaking. And Shrek just reaches up and grabs something, and right? He grabs a bat out of midair and like starts eating it. And the other 2 men are just looking at Homeboy like they're not scared. They're a little taken aback, but I mean, they're like, oh, well, he's in character. Like, he's drunk. Like, and he had been kind of drinking the Patron or whatever. It looked like Patron. But whatever it was they were drinking, right? And he just finishes with the bat. He takes another swig of the liquor, gives it back to the guy. The guy's like wiping. He's like, he just leaves. And it's after that everybody like kind of openly, they're like, maybe he's an actual vampire, but not at that moment. At that moment, it's like, he was drunk. Somebody actually says the next day, they bring it up because he's acting weird and whatever, and somebody actually brings that up, that he could actually be a vampire. I think it was Fritz. Fritz believed it first. And Albin's like, what are you talking about? Like, he was drunk, man. Like, we were all drunk. Like, don't worry. You're overthinking. You're overanalyzing. Like, come on. Vampires aren't real. Give your head a shake, Dad. Like, come on. It was just such an interesting scene. and like I said, originally it just rolled off. They're like, meh. Patron will make you do crazy things. It's gracious. I just found that amusing. It really was a well done movie. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for requesting. I don't know if you want to shout out or not, so I'm not gonna put your name out there, your handle, whatever. But thank you for requesting this. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Yeah, if there's ever a request or whatever, please feel free to put them in the comments below. I'm more than happy to check them out. Until next time, take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next one.